more than 100 people were shot this past holiday weekend in Chicago. Mayor Lori Lightfoot has continually laid blame on the courts for the city's summer violence. Police Superintendent David Brown is also pointing his finger at the court system, saying people with violent charges are being released on electronic monitoring. This past weekend, 2 people who were on electronic monitoring were arrested for violent crimes. Joining us to talk about this and more are Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx and Cook County Public Defender Sharone Mitchell Jr. Thanks to you both for joining us together. I know folks probably think that the two of you have an adversarial relationship, but that's not necessarily the case. So as we just discussed, there were 2 people who were arrested on electronic monitoring this past weekend. Sharone Mitchell, to you first, please. How frequently are people on EM rearrested on a violent charge?
Well, we know it's a very small percentage. The University of Chicago's crime lab, which actually works with CPD in the city, analyzed the numbers and found that people rearrested for a felony gun charge while on EM make up less than 1% of Chicago felony gun arrests. So the idea that fewer than 1% of people arrested is responsible for the other 99 just doesn't make much sense at all. And it's not just the University of Chicago, it's Loyola University. It's studies from many of our stakeholders that reject this idea that folks released while awaiting their trial is driving violence. It just has something that hasn't been proven to be true.
Yesterday, Chicago Police Superintendent David Brown spoke about this weekend's violence in the courts. Here he is.
I hear a lot about what the state's attorney is doing. She charged these people with murder that we brought before them, that we've arrested. And the courts released them back into the community, creating an unsafe environment for all of us in the crowd when retaliation occurs, when street justice occurs.
Kim Foxx, what's your reaction to that statement?
Well, listen, we do charge people with crimes, and judges have to make a determination based on the facts of the present case, someone's background, and their assessment of their risk. And the reality is the Constitution has to guide those determinations. And the Constitution says the judges have to set bail that's affordable. And lost in the conversation is the fact that there are truly thousands of people who are out on bail or electronic monitoring now. And as PD Mitchell just said, the numbers don't substantiate the claims that the police chief has made. As horrifying, as horrific this past weekend was, and for the loss of life in the communities that have been disrupted and generations that have lost family members, we also must recognize, as heartbreaking as that is, that we have to tell the truth about what the data shows and what these policies are doing.
So according to the Cook County Sheriff's Office, there are, as you just said, over 3,000 people who are on electronic monitoring. 72% of them are awaiting trial on a violent lead charge, and that includes 99 who have been charged with murder. And as we've stated, there's been some research done that finds that there is no significant increase in crime when people are being released pre-trial. But these numbers, Sharone Mitchell, does this confirm what Brown has been saying about the number of people who've been charged with murder who are out on electronic monitoring?
Well, first, I would think people in our region would understand that accusations do not mean that someone is guilty. So this idea that just because somebody was accused of a crime means that they're guilty is a lesson that we learn time and time again is a mistake. With that said, this idea that because somebody is on EM that they present some risk is really not substantiated. EM is not something that we should take lightly. For the vast majority of people on EM, they are on 24 hours house arrest. We know that the sheriff has changed his program to where many of these people are on GPS monitoring. We know that they can't go to the store to buy groceries or go to the doctor without explicit permission from the judge. We know that folks are actually violated and they can be brought back into incarceration if there's any violation that either the sheriff's office or the prosecutor's office or even an outside organization, if they're violated. So this idea that just because somebody's on EM means that they're running wild in the streets and causing violence just hasn't been proven by the data, and it doesn't make sense when you know what the actual program is.
So we also heard from the mayor on this a couple of weeks ago as well. Here's what she said.
Cook County has to open up for criminal trials. The Chicago Police Department is doing its part. It's investigating, it's being proactive, it's arresting people and bringing them to justice, but then the cases sit and sit. And we have way too many people out on pretrial release because the courts are effectively closed.
So on June 21st there, the mayor saying courts have not been open, but while jury trials were suspended during the pandemic, we know that Cook County courts reopened that or started those jury trials back up in March. Criminal courts were open at the time that the mayor said this. Sharone Mitchell, to you again, why do you think the mayor continues to push this particular message?
Well, listen, I think that we put both the mayor and the police superintendent in a bad place. We assume that they are going to solve this gun violence problem with the snap of the finger. We're looking at the courts or the police to solve a problem that we've seen exist across the entire country. Cities from California to New York, everywhere in between, whether we have Republican or Democratic leadership, have not been able to stem the tide of gun violence. And the reality of the situation is that we want more different results. If we want to actually see more peace, we will have to reevaluate how we approach gun violence. Listen, we spend about $4 billion as a region every year on responses to gun violence, things that happen after someone is shot. For instance, police and prosecutors, court systems, and the like. We spend about $150 million on actually solving conflicts and stopping conflicts before they're happening. Until we address that ratio, we will continue to get the same results we've seen year after year after year.
Now, the pandemic did slow down the court systems. Of course, major court systems across the country are experiencing this. Kim Foxx, how big of a case backlog are we talking about?
We're talking about thousands of cases. As you pointed out earlier, the courts have been open, but they've been slowed. The fact of the matter is that we've been able to resolve a number of cases. Both the state's attorney's office, the public defender's office, and others have been working very hard in some of the most challenging circumstances to make sure that justice continued to roll. But we do have a significant backlog. The Supreme Court told the right to a speedy trial, which meant that people can have a trial within 120 days, or if they're in custody, 160 days if they're out. And what the Supreme Court just ordered last week is that they will no longer told that, so that people can demand a trial, and we will have to go to trial within 120 or 160 days, which is not a significant amount of time, particularly when you are talking about the potential for thousands of cases. And so the backlog is significant. The system will be tested in ways that it hasn't been tested before because of the speedy trial rule being lifted and the thousands of cases that, while we've been working, have not been resolved in the course of the last 16 months.
We had a segment last night where we heard from several anti-violence organizations, one of them and several of them saying actually that we can't, quote, police our way out of this, something that we hear frequently. Kim Foxx, to you again, do you think that's something that the city is trying to do here?
I've worked with the city and a number of their departments, and as the mayor said, they're trying to take a whole of government approach to this. But I think, to the point that the public defender made, I think we need a much more significant investment in violence prevention from the city, the county, the state, and the federal level. Some of that is like in the first segment that we heard around, creating access to education, jobs, and economic development. It is no surprise to me that the areas where we see the most violence in our communities are some of the most under-resourced, underfunded areas where unemployment is higher than the city average, where there's a lack of access to educational attainment, and communities that have been disinvested in for years. And so the whole of government approach to me is not just social service resources in the now, but significant investment in these communities so that we are recognizing that crime prevention starts with investing in communities. Healthy, thriving communities are safer communities.
Okay, that's where we'll have to leave it. A lot to suss out, obviously. Our thanks to State's Attorney Kim Foxx and Public Defender Sharone Mitchell, Jr.
Thank you very much for having me.
And make sure to tune in to tomorrow's program when we'll sit down with Chief Judge Tim Evans of the Circuit Court of Cook County.